last one, which is the NFC South. Again, it's a bit bigger than it needs to be, but there we go. Fits perfectly now. This is the division, I'm guessing, that needs some help as well. The Carolina Panthers will start with, a team that it needs some serious help, I think. Are you going to tell me their biggest need is to change the owner? Because I'm sure that's what everybody else is thinking. How does this team somehow manage to make correct decisions? Because the issue they've got at the moment is decision making is very, very poor from head office, and they don't seem to be able to get it right. And then they have to rebuild every year. So how did the Panthers get this right this time?
So I think really they haven't got that much money either. That's the big thing. So they're not exactly flush. They're going into 25. I think they've got about 25 million they can spend. So it's pretty low on compared to other teams. There are a lot of issues here, obviously, because they are one of the worst teams. The big thing that they need to do is they need to go quarterback. You know, they're back in the quarterback pool of trying to get one in the draft. They're probably going to be in a position to get the best one, or certainly one of the best three. So it hasn't really worked with Bryce Young. Obviously, Andy Dalton is not the future. So I think that for obvious reasons, they're going to have to go quarterback. I do wonder if they end up trading Bryce Young away just to get a bit more draft capital in as well at some point. So I think that will probably happen. So that's the main one. Wide receiver, I believe they need to look at. They've got themselves Xavier Legette, I think, has looked all right. He's looked pretty good. Jalen Coker has shown a few flashes, so you keep with the two rookies, but obviously trading Deontay Johnson, you need more. So it's like, so wide receiver is a big need for them that they're going to have to go down and do as well. I think there is going to be a limit to what you can do here, because you're just not going to have enough picks in order to be able to do everything. So I don't think you're going to look at the O-line. They look very set at running back. Now they've just signed Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks. Obviously, they drafted last year, and they've still got Miles Sanders as well. So I don't think that'll be an issue. I think they'll stick with that. And then the other big need that I think they need to look at is edge rusher, just purely because they haven't replaced Brian Burns at all, and I think that's something that they need to look at. I would say, QB, edge rusher, and wide receiver are the three biggest needs. I would expect them to go QB in the first round, probably wide receiver in the second round, to be honest. I think they're probably going to try and sort out the offense before the defense, which is not necessarily the greatest way of doing it, but they're not necessarily the greatest franchise. So I think that's probably the way they'll go. And then they'll take an edge at some point as well and hope that he hits. But yeah, even the secondary, they're all right, but they're not great. So there's loads of holes, but you can only do so much.
It's going to be it's tough for them, because what's the value for Bryce Young? You know, what do you think he's more or less valuable than Justin Fields? I know Justin Fields obviously was in a contract year, whereas Bryce Young isn't, so he's not going to cost you a lot. But there wasn't a market for Justin Fields, and I think he showed a bit more talent. So is it a fourth round, or better, or worse?
I would be surprised if you got a fourth round pick for him, personally. I think you're probably looking at a fifth or a sixth if you're lucky, to be brutally honest. I mean, I don't think there's going to be much of a market. I think that's the issue, as we saw, wasn't it, with Justin Fields? It's like, where is the market for these quarterbacks? There's more of an interest in taking the quarterback who hasn't played, because he might be great, compared to the quarterback that has played and has shown that he's not great. So it's almost like, I think a team will take him. I think I could see in the same way that someone took Darnold, the 49ers took Darnold, I could see the 49ers, I could see McVay, I could see one of these guys going, we'll have him as our backup and we will do something with him and see what he can do. and maybe you end up in the same position that Darnold is in now. That could easily happen. But I just don't see anything more than a fifth. I really don't, because I don't think anyone's going to pay up that much. But I think you've got to get him off the roster. I think you've just got to get rid and start again and refresh the whole thing, because the idea of drafting a quarterback and then having him sitting there is just going to cause more trouble than it's worth.
Now, we've said that this team hasn't got a lot of money. They haven't got a lot of pieces they can trade because Burns is already gone. They're not going to get much for Bryce Young. They've got a high first-round pick. We know that. But They haven't got the high second-round pick because they gave that to Chicago, haven't they?
Yeah, they are pick 50 they've got. So they're in the middle of the second.
Okay. So I think it's going to be tough for them to get quarterback, edge rusher, and wide receiver from this draft on where they're picking, and it'd be good enough.
I'm not saying it'd be good enough, but
they
I
haven't
think
got the ability to pay.
No.
So
no, I'm not saying they're going to be good enough to make a massive change next year, but I do think you've got the pick for the quarterback in the first round. I think you can probably get yourself a decent wide receiver or edge rusher in the second, and then at the very beginning of the third, you do the alternative. You're probably going to be looking, I suppose, you would expect edge rushers to go earlier than some of the wide receivers, maybe. So I do wonder if they go edge rusher at 50 and then wide receiver at 66, which they've got in the third. That kind of makes sense to me as the logical sort of steps that you make. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't think you get everything that fixes it just from this draft. This is going to take years.
Do you think that, now we've heard Sanders come out and say this, that he wants to go to the right team? Obviously, his dad has said he's not going to be going to a bad team. Now, this organization, let's not take away from the team because they have got some nice young players that look good. But the owner, the turnover of head coaches, the owner's decision-making, the owner's off-field, off-NFL decisions are very questionable when he's out in public. Can you see there being an Eli Manning situation here with this team and him saying, I'm not going to the Panthers. That could be the end of my career. I'm not going there. And if so, are they going to be in a position again where they're having to try and pick the right quarterback and get it wrong again?
Yeah, quite possible. Would you want, and if it was your guy, would you want him going there? I mean, I can't imagine anyone would, because it is a disaster, and it's like it has been for many years. And as you said at the beginning of this, it is the owner. It's like it does cause the problem. But that it's quite possible you end up with that sort of situation where people don't want to go there, and they could easily go and get themselves the wrong guy again. Wouldn't be shocking if they did. But it's very much about, to a certain degree, they're just going to have to. It's difficult. It's almost like the owner needs to give more control over, away from himself, and it feels a bit like the Cowboys to a certain extent. It's almost like Jerry Jones needs to give control and get a general manager in who actually can do it properly. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine much is going to change. It's very much poor organization, poor owner. This always happens. Look at Washington. For years, it was like this. And then he's gone and they've got a new owner and it's completely different. And they've employed people who know what they're doing. And now look at where they are. It's like that quickly as well. It can be that quick. You just have to admit that you can't do it. But,
I mean, they need to tank hard to get, because there's currently two people ahead of them. So if they don't get a 1 or 2 pick, I can't see them being able to trade up because they haven't got anything to trade.
So as we're recording it, so just before week 10, there's 3 teams ahead of them. So the Saints are ahead of them as well in the draft. So yeah, I mean it's difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really, really tough. So we'll move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, this team has been plagued with injury, losing virtually their whole wide receiving core. Baker's still playing some nice football despite this, but it's a little bit like the 49ers. They've got some old pieces. They brought back a lot of people over the years to try and roll the dice again and have one last dance or whatever it is. But do you think they're going to be in trouble now going forward, that they have kept hold of these older pieces and they might struggle to invest in younger ones, or are we missing players that are young and only looking at the old pieces they've got?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be too bad. I think they're okay. Offensively, definitely, I think they're all right. I think Mike Evans will be back again for the end of this season. Also, he'll be there next year as well. Chris Godwin obviously is a free agent, so he might not be around. But I like Jalen McMillan. I think he looks good. They've got some interesting other wide receivers like Trey Palmer that have shown a bit. Obviously, Sterling Shepard is there as well. So if you keep him fit, he's okay. But I mean, you're talking about a third wide receiver here. So it's not too bad. So I do feel they might dip into wide receiver, but I don't think they'll go particularly early on wide receiver. I like Cade Otton. I think he's a good tight end. I don't think anything will change there. And obviously, Baker looks really good. And the running back room looks decent as well.
Yeah.
Rashad White has been good, and so is Bucky Irving. For me, I think it is predominantly going into the defense that they need to, as you say, they're getting a bit older. They need to sort of redo it a little bit. I think at edge rusher, I like Diaby. I think he's been good.
Yeah, Diaby's good.
He's been great, but not a lot else, to be honest. I think there's a couple of free agents on there as well, and I just feel like there's not much. I mean, Vita Vea is Vita Vea. He's decent, obviously, but I just feel like they could sort of get a bit younger, get a bit better in that area. I know they took Chris Braswell for like linebacker, but I just feel like they could do with getting a bit younger. And then at corner, I think corner is an issue for them as well. I feel like that's kind of their weakness on the defense a little bit. They're just not quite as good there. So I think it's another team that may end up going down that route. But they're not a bad side. They're just not quite as good as what they were. And I think that's probably, like you said, because a lot of them players have got a bit older and they need to sort of like change over the defense a little bit.
Yeah, so they're currently sat at 14 in the draft. Do you see them moving up or down in the draft as the season goes on? Do you think they're going to continue to struggle, or do you think they're going to want to try and get some more wins? What do you see their projection for the rest of the year?
I think the defense is solid enough so that they're okay. Bear in mind, they're going to be playing, the Saints and the Panthers as well. So I think they'll get themselves a few wins in this. Mike Evans coming back is going to be huge for them. So offensively, I think they will improve from where they are at the time that we're recording it. And defensively, I think they're solid enough. I think they'll go up a little bit. I don't think they'll win the division. I think the next team we talk about will win this division quite easily. But I think they'll be a solid team that I think they might just miss out on the playoffs.
So you think they're still in contention to play for the playoffs, and there's something worth?
Yeah, I think at the moment, I mean, the way Baker's playing, they look good. They haven't been bad. I mean, obviously, so like they're playing the 49ers in week 10. That's going to be a tough matchup. Chances are they might lose that one. I think it's going to be tough, obviously, ask for them to keep going, but I think there's some wins there for them because of the teams that they're going to be playing against.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll move on to the Atlanta Falcons, a team that you're saying is for sure for the division. They're going to crack on and push for the playoffs and be in that race. It's a team that's got it's made a lot of moves last year. It's got some nice, very, very nice young pieces. They're solid at quarterback with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. They don't need to worry about that for the next, maybe 10 years. Is it just defense that's letting this team down, because they're very, very good on offense? Well, where's the holes?
Yeah, they are a very solid offense. I think the O-line has improved. Certainly been able to keep Kirk Cousins up as the season's gone on. Like you say with Penix as well, it's basically same again after Cousins. So running back room's great. Kyle Pitts has shown that he's better with Cousins than what he has been with any other quarterback. And the wide receiver room, Drake London, brilliant. Darnell Mooney, brilliant. I would say maybe another wide receiver. I do think they could do with a third one, given the way that they play. They, with Cousins, it is about
You don't like Ray
what
McClellan?
He's all right, but I think some depth at wide receiver wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him. I do feel like once you get past them three, there's not a lot else. So I think maybe some depth there. Defensively, I think they've not been too bad, but not fantastic. They could do with a little bit of help in pretty much all areas of the defense, to be honest. I do think Matthew Judon didn't change his contract. So an edge rusher could be something that we said, wasn't it, last year? Edge rusher. They brought in Judon, but I still feel like they could do with another one. And I think that might help them a little bit. But in the secondary, I think they've been okay. I think Jesse Bates has been pretty good. AJ Terrell's been okay. They're not bad. I think if they want to kick on, though, I think just a general improvement on the defense is what they probably need to do. And so, I would argue best player available on the defense at the time that they come up.
Yeah, they're going to be back end of the first, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think there might be. There's a guy in the draft. I always say this. He's not for me. I like pure edge rushers. I like guys that are that sort of focus on. That's why I was big on Jared Verse last year. But there is a hybrid guy in this draft coming from Georgia. They're very, very good at it. Jalen Walker plays both edge and linebacker. And when you look at the Falcons, it looks like they're the two positions, linebacker and edge, that they could really, really focus on. So I think he's a perfect fit for them. And they're going to be in where they are in the draft and where it's going to be. I think he's going to be there for them. So I don't think they will have to dip into free agency to strengthen up there. I think they can do it in the draft and push on. So I think they've set themselves up very, very nice. Do you think Raheem Morris is the right coach? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think it's been good from a coaching standpoint, which it hasn't been in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think they've done all right, really. I mean, I think it's probably going to take a little bit of time. I think we all knew that obviously that it was a team that has struggled for quite a bit, and now they're sort of starting to become a lot better. So yeah, I think Raheem Morris has been all right. I like the OC. I've completely forgotten his name, but he came from the Rams. I know that much. Zach Robinson, is that it?
Yeah, he always forgets his name.
Yeah, and I feel like he's done a good job. They've brought in the right pieces. He's doing well, and I think they all in all, it's all improvement, isn't it, for the Falcons? They've been pretty good. Everything's going the right way. Like I say, I just feel like they need to improve that defense and just a general sort of like improvement there. And then I think they will. What they've got is they have got one and done written all over them in the playoffs. They really do, because I think they'll end up against a team who's better and it'll all be over. And I can see that happening. They need to get to a point where they just increase the levels of that defense and become a more solid defense, stop as many points being scored on them. And then I think they will become a much, much more potent threat, like in the playoffs as well.
Well, unfortunately for them, it's going to be the likes of, looking at where they're going to finish, it might be the likes of the Green Bay Packers or the Rams or something like that.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That's where I think it's one and done for them.
Mm-hmm. Which, those teams have had the year and now they're moving on, whereas this is their year and maybe next year's might be the one for them. So, they might be 1 year behind those other ones. We move on to the final team, Adam, the New Orleans Saints, that at time of recording, Chris Olave now is on IR. They've talked about the fact that he's been advised that maybe he should sit out the rest of the season because this is his second concussion of the year. Marshawn Lattimore's gone. We've seen what's happened to them at quarterback. I know Derek Carr is back, but it does scream to me that they've given up on the year and change of head coach, firing him, and it looks like maybe they're looking to the future now. And not bothered about this season. So if they're looking to the future, Adam, what do you think they've got in mind of how they move this forward?
Yeah, it's a difficult one for the Saints because they're in cap hell, as we all know. So it is an awkward one. I feel like what they're doing is they're just not doing it right. They keep on going down this route. They're paying Alvin Kamara again, and I know that he's good, but you're not going anywhere. You're just going backwards all the time. So that's a real issue. The team is getting older, like considerably older, and it needs to change. They need to sort it out. I think they have to just build around good young pieces that they have, and Chris Olave is that good young piece that they have. And to a certain degree, there's no point. There's no point in being out there, is there, this season? It's got disaster written all over it. So what's the point? So I completely get it. For me, I think the areas that they really need to improve, it's O-line and D-line. They're old and they're not very good at O-line and D-line, and they need to sort this out. I think CJ Ruiz has struggled a lot this season on the O-line. Trevor Penning has really struggled at times as well. Just constantly being beaten all the time, and it just kind of feels like they're not even like particularly fancy moves that the D-line guys are putting on him. He's just getting beaten, and so big upgrade needs to be had at the O-line. On the D-line, Cam Jordan's getting older. Chase Young is okay, but he hasn't been great.
I think
Yeah, you said that I think about a week or so ago. I remember you putting that in there, and I was just like, "Is he?" From what I've seen, I just haven't really. I mean, maybe he looks good compared to the rest of them on the Saints team. Maybe that's what it is. I think Brian Brzee has got potential and looks all right. I think that he's okay to sort of get behind. So that's one of the good young pieces you want to get behind. But yeah, I mean, look, there's some names on this defense. You know, you've got the likes of Cam Jordan, who's older. You've got Demario Davis, who's been around forever. Willie Gay, Tyrann Mathieu. You know, they're not young guys. They're kind of like they're all getting older, and you're 2-7 at the moment. You're not getting any better, sort of thing. It's like I think there needs to be significant change when it comes to it, and I think that the O-line and D-line are the two areas that they need to start doing it from. You can't do it through free agency. You've just got to do it through the draft, and it's going to take forever. And so the likes of Derek Carr will probably end up sticking around for longer than what he should, or they're going to end up going out and getting a free agent who's not very good. And it's like, and that's they're just going to have to do that. And this was always going to be the problem when you kept on kicking the can down the road. It was always going to come back to bite you, and it has now.
Yeah. You say their O-line's getting old. I think they've got a load of youngsters on the O-line, haven't they? You know, Cesar Ruiz is young, and Trevor Penning was a recent.
Well, maybe it's more the D line that's old, and the O line is not so much. But they're not good. Is the point?
I think when you look at a team, you say, how do you which with the Saints it is. You've got a couple of nice young pieces: Kool-Aid McKinstry, Brian Brzee, Chris Olave. All very, very nice young pieces.
Yeah.
I think when you go like, right, we need to start again. What do we need? You go, all right, we need a quarterback. Okay. Derek Carr's fine. You know, he's all right. You need a left tackle. Well, they haven't got one of them. And you need an edge rusher. They're the three pieces that you need to build a team. And the fact that they're asking Fuaga to play at left tackle when he's a natural guard and he's an incredible guard, I think you've got to think in your head, we would be so much better and stronger. We've invested in Alvin Kamara. If the O-line was really, really strong, and Fuaga playing it as a guard rather than a tackle would only better Alvin Kamara as well. So I think you have to say Derek Carr's fine for this year, for next year. You know, he's serviceable, isn't he? He's not a bad quarterback. So I think, they definitely need to go out and get a stud left tackle, and I think they're going to be in a position to have their pick. So I think maybe Kelvin Banks is the one. I think he's a proper left tackle. I think Will Campbell is good, but there's is he where is his best position? People are on about maybe moving him to guard, but I think he is quality tackle as well. But Kelvin Banks probably is the one they need to go for, and then you need, like you say, quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher. So, which is what the quarterback's fine. They go and get that left tackle, and then look at another edge rusher as well. So they're definitely going back to the basics with this team and really stripping it back. So I don't think they need to get too complicated about it and think, do we need more wide receivers or tight ends or linebackers? They need to focus on the heart of a team. So that's where I'm at with them.
Yeah, and also they're in a really good position. They get at the moment they've got the number 3 pick. Chances are they're probably not going to win many more games. You sort of feel like you're in a very good position to make sure that someone needs to come up to get a quarterback, trade that pick away, and get more draft capital and really invest in like them sort of things, like you say, on the edge rushers. The quarterback should be the last piece that you go for. You're gonna struggle next year, no matter what. This is just how it is, and so you should then be looking to go and get yourself a good quarterback next year. And if you really struggle, then you can go and get yourself Arch Manning, can't you? So there you go. I mean,
that would be fitting because Archie Manning, the granddad, played for the Saints. So that would be fitting, wouldn't it?
And I think I don't think they would have an issue with him playing there either.
No, not at all. That Louisiana's, I think where a lot of them grew up, wasn't it? So that would make sense. So I'm in full agreement with that. That would be a nice story for them. So I think trade down. The Giants might be one of those teams they want to trade with, where they're going to be at. So that could be a possibility, and all of the others as well would want to as well. So I think quarterback next year, and as in
quarterback.
Year, you know what I meant, because we're looking at the year coming up.
I know.
But I think we're in the right lines. We're both in the same here, and go out and find themselves a top quality head coach. Have you got any names that you think, before we sign off, who would they go for?
I mean, obviously, the one guy that everyone's going to go for is Ben Johnson, isn't it? From the Detroit Lions, that's who everyone is going to be trying to get hold of. Whether he would be
for them to take a gamble on an offensive coordinator that's kind of not wanted to be head coach and was a bit picky about where he goes, or do you think they need someone who's been and done it before?
Well, I'd argue if he's picky where he goes, but he says he wants to come to you, then that's a pretty good sign that he wants to be there. So, I mean, that's something I would say. But no, I think they need a complete refresh. They need, the problem is they've been so stuck in this Sean Payton era, and it kind of feels a little bit like they've just tried to keep that going. And even Dennis Allen kind of felt like an extension of the Sean Payton era, and you just kind of kept it going. I think completely new guy, completely refresh it all. I think someone young, exciting like that would be brilliant for them, and that would be exactly what they need.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I might have to do some more homework in that and then make my selection before the season comes to an end. Adam, that's all we've got time for. That's all of the NFC, all of the AFC, all complete. Hopefully we're right about some things. Hopefully we're good. But this is going to move on now to our draft show, our mock the mocks, a bit more detail in the actual draft itself about the players that teams could be going for, and a little bit more player profile and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that when it does come around. But till then, thanks for joining, and keep it with the franchise tag.